Hey there, welcome. I'm Wood. I have a question for you. What if you could only build one rare in each faction? Which one would you pick? I'm going to give you my answer as to which ones I would pick based on the experience I have. I've been playing for about 3.5 years, and I've made a lot of mistakes in this game. So I'm going to I'm going to give you from my experience which rare I would build. And so if you're early game or if you're new to the game and you pull this rare, please consider not feeding them right away and maybe even possibly building them. I'll explain to you why I think the way I do. So we'll start out with Bannerlords. In Bannerlords, a lot of people argue that Dagger is the one you build because she has an AoE decreased defense, but it's only a 75% chance, and she's really squishy. She's hard to keep alive, and in Faction Wars you take hits. And so I think my answer to this one is Spymaster. Spymaster is kind of cool. He's got a mix of skills that kind of work if maybe on your first Hydra team, if you don't have a block buffs champion, for example, he has block buffs on a 60% chance. You know, if you put sniper on him, that gives you a 65% chance AoE. And it's so if you don't have block buffs, you know, a more reliable block buffs, it can work decently well for Hydra. He also has a provoke, which also works for Hydra, but it's not a real reliable provoke either. He places a counterattack on himself for 2 turns, and he has a 75. Oh, it's a 100% chance to provoke, but it's only on 2 random allies. I always get mixed up about which that is, but it's only 2 random or 2 random enemies. I said allies, I know. I'm trying, okay? Just please bear with me. Thank you for your patience. So his provoke, though, you got it kind of when you're in there and you can only provoke that one head. It's a 50-50 shot. It's not the best for Hydra, but if you don't have a lot of other options and you need block buffs and provoke, he can fill a slot on the team. And obviously, you know, later game you're going to move away from him, but early game, if that's all you've got. Also, the reason I like him is because he's HP based, and he can take some hits. You know, you send him through Faction Wars, even through the highest stages of Faction Wars. He can take the hits and he can be helpful for your team. And so he's my pick for Bannerlords. In High Elves, I know there's arguments for Elhaim just because she's a starter champion and she's good. For a starter, she's good. Eris fits into some clan boss teams, and she actually has a decent kit for a rare that has some unique things that she does. Apothecary is one of the best rares in the game, but I still think Reliquary Tender is if I could only build one, Reliquary Tender is my pick because of her three turn cooldown cleanse. It cleanses your whole team and puts a continuous heal on. It's a really good skill, and it's unique. You know, there's legendaries that have that same skill. Now, legendaries do other things that maybe she doesn't do, but she does have a revive also. She can revive one ally, and it does have a little turn meter and a little HP that she can give them, and then she has a small version of decreased attack. I wouldn't build her with accuracy. The way I would build her is with resistance. I think the way to go with her is resistance, and then if you land the small decreased attack, it's a bonus. But yeah, and then hope that no books go into her A1 if the rare books are precious to you at the time. I definitely book, you know, you hope that the first 3 books will fall into these 2 skills. Usually that's not going to happen, but you can hope. But I think if I could only build one in High Elves, it would be her. And granted, she's void, but you play long enough, you will pull copies of her, and I really think that she would serve you well. All right, in Sacred Order, you've got another starter champion in Ethel. So a lot of people like Templar because of his block damage and provoke. It's kind of a cool skill, and he hits decently hard for a rare, and he's defense based, and so I do like him for that. But the one I decided to build, and my favorite, is Draconis, and I know again Void, but HP based. He puts a shield based on his own HP, and then he has a remove debuffs from an ally and a heal on an ally. So I like that, and he hits decently hard. On the one skill that he hits on, he hits decently hard. So I think Draconis is my pick. A lot of people pick Harrier. No, they don't. That was a joke. I know it wasn't a good joke, but it was a joke. So I could see the argument for Templar if you have to build a rare in Sacred Order, or Ethel just because you're just going to because she's a starter. But there are other starters, and I just think Draconis can help your team stay alive in Faction Wars. Barbarians. In Barbarians, you usually, obviously War Maiden is so good as a decreased defense. Sentinel has become really useful. I mean, in Magma Dragon, he's been useful just because he's got provoke and decreased attack. The heal reduction, I've never used him on a team where the heal reduction was. I think some people were using him for Amius, but man, you'd have to have really good gear to be able to use him there. So, but the A1 provoke is cool, and people have found he's an option in the Cursed City because I think there's a few stages where you need a force HP based champion, and so he fits the bill for that. But if I could only build one, mine would be Soulbond Boyer. Soulbond Boyer, and not just because she's AoE A1. She has an AoE attack on her A1, and you can put her in a stun set and get a lot of control. But this skill, on her A3, all of her skills have an additional 25% chance to crit. So you don't have to build her with 100% crit rate. And this skill where she depletes the target's turn meter completely, and it's on 100% chance. And as long as she doesn't weak hit, it's that's a great skill to have in the game. There's only a couple of rares. There's 3 rares that have that kind of skill in the game, and so because of that, I'm going with Soulbond Boyer for Barbarians. For Ogryn Tribe, I don't think there's an argument. I think most people would agree that Bellower is the best, and again Void, but Bellower is probably the best. And you put him in either Relentless or Stun Set, and he can just debuff people all day. He's got all these different debuffs and pretty good chance to land him. In fact, this one's 100% after it's booked, and 75% chance on that one. That and then blocking active skills on an A1. That's a really good skill. If you pull him early, he can be your campaign farmer. He can do all kinds of things. And so I don't see an argument. I know some people use Rocktooth for some early game stuff, and Pounder can be used for one, the Dark Fae team where you pair him with Dark Elaine. But I think Bellower is by far the best in the Ogryn Tribe. In Lizard Men, I don't think there's a lot of good Lizard Men. I know a lot of people build Haruspex because he has a revive, but my argument against building Haruspex would be that you're going to have Broadmaw anyway, and his revive is better. So I think Broadmaw is a pretty good champion, and you're going to get him, you're going to fuse him. So I really think that because of that, and just limiting ourselves to the rares here, I know the Muckstalker has that sleep that is, really unique because it's a 2-turn sleep. If they have no active buffs, remember that there is a qualifier there, but I think it's a good sleep, and he's But I think Gator, Gator is I think one of two cleansers in the rares that can cleanse everybody on a 3-turn cooldown. I really think, removes all the debuffs from all allies on a 3-turn. I really think that is a unique skill and one that can be used in a lot of different places. So for him and Reliquary Tender, for that reason, I would pick Gator in Lizardman. But yeah, let me know what you think about that one. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's where I would land on Lizardman. In Skinwalkers, I think Gnarlhorn is the best. He's in that, Reliquary Tender's in that biohack team that he uses 5 rares to do the Phantom Shogun. If you haven't seen that and you're looking for answers on Phantom Shogun, you should check that out. The issue with that team, and it's not an issue, I mean, the team is great. It's just that the gear requirement is really high. You're not just going to go out a couple months into the game and just build that team and have it work. You're just not going to have the gear for that usually. But Gnarlhorn is unique because he can't strong, critical, or weak hit on this A1 skill. So when the boss puts in Feeble on you on the Phantom Shogun, he puts in Feeble on you that forces you to weak hit. Well, Gnarlhorn can't do it anyway. He's not going to weak hit, and so it's not going to run his meter up. So, but also he's got the AoE provoke, and he places it, and so he's not going to weak hit or anything. It's always going to be a place, and you're only going to get a 3% resist on that. So it's a really good skill. And then he's got the unkillable for 2 turns, on himself and on a 3-turn cooldown. So that's a really good skill set, and it's useful in a lot of places, but you can build him for very specific uses too. And so for that reason, I think Gnarlhorn. I like Greybeard, and I've heard Panthera can be useful for some stuff too, but and Fleshmonger, I actually use Fleshmonger in my Faction Wars team as the decreased defense AoE, and so I can see arguments for those, but if I could only build one, it would be Gnarlhorn. In Orcs, I would build Veteran. I know we've got Gallic as the starter, and I know Ironclad is really cool and he's fun, but apart from that, I think Veteran's the best. Decrease attack on the A1, and this skill's based on defense. His other 2 skills, it's the damage is based on defense and attack on this one, and then defense and HP. Back when they were doing this, it's kind of weird. I just build him with heavy defense and just hope that takes care of the whole thing. And he hits decently hard for me, and that decreased attack on the A1, but also having that block buffs is really good. He's got a 60% chance of placing it, so he's a little bit like Spymaster in that way, where he can place that block buffs or on a hit, and it's a really good one. And he can't weak hit because he's void, again a void rare. But we'll count up at the end of the video. We'll count up how many I picked that were void rares, but they're good for a reason. They should be better. They're void. So yeah, if I could only build one, that would be Veteran in Orcs. In Demon Spawn, a lot of people like Fellhound, a lot of people like Hellfreak, Hellborn. Hellborn has some uses, and I've heard some stuff about Petrifia, but I haven't ever built her. She's got a decreased defense on her A1. If they're under poison sensitivity, it goes to 2 turns instead. Okay, and then attacks all enemies 2 times. First has 75% chance of decreased attack for 2 turns, and poison. Oh, and she has poison sensitivity too. Okay, so that's the draw for her. She's a poisoner with poison sensitivity, and that's actually really good. It's valuable. But and Fellhound is he's one of the best campaign farmers, if not the best campaign farmers for Brutal. But Abyssal is, for me, the better one here. And again, you're going to see a trend. I like block buffs. I cannot lie. I really think that's a good skill. Obviously, it's a low chance. 30% chance is not that great, but he gets a lot of A1s in. If you put him in, again, if you're going to put him in Relentless, a lot of people use Stun, just like Soban Boyer. He can get, and then he's got a good heal, and he's got a good buffs for your team. They're not the best, but he's also got the speed aura for your faction crypt. So I think Abyssal, if I had to pick one, it's Abyssal in Demon Spawn. Undead, I'm gonna go with. I've been tempted in the past to say Doomscreech, but Doomscreech has got a really unique skill where he fills turn meter by 30% and places the big version of increased defense. That's really, really unique. I think only Siphi does the same thing. And Siphi's one of the best champions in the whole game, much less, just in Undead. So, but I go with Frozen Banshee here. Her poison sensitivity and the number of poisons she can put on. And you can build her pretty tanky too. She's got decent base stats. She's not just built as an attack champion. I mean, she's got 1,000 defense on her base, and decent. She's got some resistance accuracy too. So if your gear level is really good, she can be really good for you. And so I tend to think she'd be the one I would build over Doomscreech, and it's only because the rest of his kit kind of is lacking compared to that one really great ability that he has. So I find Frozen Banshee more useful. Okay, in Dark Elves, I don't think we have to even talk about this. Coldheart is the most versatile rare. She can be used in so many teams. I've got 4 of them built. I use all 4 of them. I use 2 in one team, I use 1 in another, and then one's a flex that can be used in different places. And they're, they do a great job for me, and I don't see how you could argue that there's another rare in this faction or even in the whole game that's better than Coldheart. So you can fight me on that one if you want to, but I don't think I'd ever agree right now. Okay, so this one's interesting. Knights Revenant. I use Guardian in my Faction Wars team. Again, you're going to see the trend. Block buffs. He has the block buffs. He's got it's only 35%, 40. And then he's got a mix on his damage is based on attack and HP. But then he also decreases the duration of buffs on targets by 2 turns. So it's basically a strip. When he attacks one enemy on his A1. So if you've got somebody, that has, unkillable on them or a big shield or counterattack on them, like with the Valkyries or something, Guardian is really good for that. If you want to get rid of one of those buffs. It's not the highest chance, but it's for a rare, it's a pretty good A1. And then the block buffs, that's why I use him. Now, that said, I like Coffin Smasher. I built him early for Clan Boss, but my pick in this case would have to be Renegade because of her just very unique, sacrificial ritual skill, decreasing the cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns. If you don't have a Kaimar or Yumiko, you have to use a Renegade if you want to make a Seer team work or something like that. So, or even the Poison teams that are really popular. So I think Poison Exploder teams, I think Renegade is crucial for that. And so, and she's got other good stuff in her kit too. That's not the only thing. She's got a hero reduction on her A1, and then she's also got a decreased speed, which can be valuable in other places. So and she's got an all battles aura, but again, void. I'm going to be interested to add these up. I hadn't even thought about that when I was thinking about doing this list. Okay, so dwarves. Oh no, I'm going to be in trouble on this one too. So in dwarves, I was going to say Kurzad, but and it's not because I'm trying to avoid the voids here. He's got the decreased speed on his A1, which is that's a really, really good one. Because if it's a critical hit, he places it. And so he can't weak hit either because he's void. So as long as you build him with crit rate, he can always attack. He can always land that decreased speed as long as the boss doesn't have some other mechanic that causes the critical hits not to happen, like the Hydra can sometimes do that with the Poison Cloud. But people were using him in Iron Twins, and I think that's a good strategy for Iron Twins. and then he's also got the increased accuracy, and you need tons of accuracy on Iron Twins. So that's why people were using him for that. And I could see that being useful other places. Bulwark gets used in a lot of early clan boss teams as a stun target for a man-eater painkeeper team. I did that early also, and it can be very useful. He's hard to build as a stun target, but you can do it because you don't need a lot of speed on him. He's like on a 1-to-1 ratio with the boss. So I think I'm changing my mind, though. I think if I could only build one, it would be Master Butcher because he's so unique. He's got Provoke on 2 different skills. One of them is 100%, and his A1 it's just a 30%. But and you can't increase that. You cannot increase that with Sniper because Provoke you can't increase with Sniper. So it's a 30% chance. But this Provoke is really reliable, and then his really cool ability is when he gets attacked, he heals the enemies by the amount of damage he takes. So you have to build him with really high HP and kind of low defense if you want that to work right. And that's debatable whether or not that's a good strategy, because if he's dead, he can't heal anybody. But if he does die, he revives a random ally with full HP when he's killed. So so that can be, before Marichka came out, he was kind of the only one that had this really weird kind of unique revive, of rares, he's my dwarf. I like dwarves, they like me. What can I say? And then in Shadowkin, I made a mistake on Shadowkin. I used to be a fanatic. I just like the way he looks. I think he's cool. He looks cool. He's got the bare feet going. He's in tatters. I don't know what this armor is. It looks like reeds or something. It's really, the artwork in this game is just so awesome. I just love it. But he's got a decreased defense on his A1, and if the target has 2 debuffs already, it places the big version of decreased defense. And I thought that was so cool when I read about it, and I thought, whoever he's attacking is going to have debuffs all the time. He's also got this transfer of, if he does have any debuffs on him, he can transfer 2 of them, random ones, to the boss or whoever he's attacking. It doesn't have to be a boss; it can be anybody. But this is the kind of cool skill too. But it's on a 4-turn cooldown. It's an increased attack on your whole team, and then he takes off a debuff. So it's kind of like a mini Tuhanarok or it's funny. I know some of these things, like I know my middle name, and yet for some reason I can't think of them sometimes. Why couldn't I think of Doom Priest? Anyway, it's like a mini Doom Priest, but only on a 4-turn cooldown. Doom Priest does it on every turn. So it's not that reliable. It's not that good. And I really liked him at first, and he hits decently hard. He's support, but his damage is based on attack on all of his skills. And so I like him, kind of. I think I've convinced myself to like him because I thought it would be such a good idea to build him. But I agree with the people that when Odachi came out, they said, "Oh yeah, he's the best Shadowkin." And I try to go away from these trends and try something different, and then it's like, oh yeah, they were right. So Odachi, I think, is the best rare in the Shadowkin. So that's the one I would build if I had it to do over again. Sylvan Watchers. And I don't think there's debate about this one. I think Tree Shield Knot is the best because he has the best revive of any rare in the game. And in this faction, it's on a 5-turn cooldown after it's booked. But he gives them some HP and some turn meter at least. And so that's good. He also has a shield on revived allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of their max HP. And since they're already dead, their max HP probably wasn't that high to begin with since they died, but it's better than nothing. And it's two allies on that revive. So I think he's probably, again, Void, but I think he's probably worth it to you could deal without the rest of these, but I think in this faction, I think he'd be the most important. I've heard this Flannan guy is good. It's done on the A1. Decreased speed and increased accuracy. Oh, and I remember reading this passive. Has a 50% chance of granting an extra turn when this champion places a decreased speed debuff on 3 or more enemies with their Shattered Knees skill. So when he does that on 3 or more enemy, he places that, he has a chance of getting an extra turn. And so that can be that's kind of a unique skill too. But I don't think I would build, and some of these rares are good. Kate is good, Colwyn's good. I haven't really looked into, Margrave I remember being good too. Yeah, for a rare, obviously for a rare. Obviously you're not just going to go out and build all these, but Tree Shield Knot, if I only could build one, that would be the one, because the only other revivers in Sylvan Watchers, I don't have an Elva. Elva is awesome. I hate going against her in Live Arena. She's such a pain in Live Arena. But if you don't have an Elva in your Sylvan Watchers, and this Wyron on the Silken, her revive is only a single target. So granted, it's not random, but it's only a single target too. So yeah, this faction is kind of light on revive if you don't have an Elva. So I think Tree Shield Knot is the best one. And then behind me, I don't know if I can turn. See that thing right there? It's hidden. I hate that. Why won't they open the new faction? I need this whole thing to be completed. I want it all. I don't like having an empty space right here behind my head. I hate having that empty space there. Oh, it's so frustrating. So maybe if we started a petition or something, they'd come out with the new faction soon. No, they're just going to do it when they're good and ready. I think that's what's going to happen. Anyway, if you have any disagreements with me or any rares that you really love that disagree with what I said, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I like debating about which are more valuable and which aren't. But I think these discussions are valuable for new players, especially because you pull a bunch of rares and you think, oh, should I build this one or not? And you go on Hell Hades, and I think you can still be confused about which ones might be valuable for you for, if you're just trying to get faction wars done and you want to take them up to 50 or whatever. I think the ones that I listed, I don't think that you'd go wrong by building them to 60 with maybe a couple of exceptions. See how many voids I picked. So 7 out of the 15. I picked half voids. That's not too bad. The voids are supposed to be better, right? So anyway, if you stuck with me through all that and you have an opinion, thank you so much for watching the video, and subscribe if this is the kind of thing. I'm doing another series where I've started 2 accounts on the same day just a few days ago, and I wanted to see the difference between a budget spender account and a free-to-play account. If that has any interest for you, maybe go over check out some of those videos. I'm just starting out doing this, and the videos aren't they're not good, but I think it's going to be valuable information, and I'm going to keep working on it and try and do better. So anyway, thanks for watching me, and I'll talk to you later.